impute, and the narrow vision, because reality and appearances do not coincide. And a vision in which things are purely seen. And this is very, very important. And also, I like a little bit wrote it in your Shedra books, and how it is in the relative realities to think, how we can to concern, and it's like in the relative conventional things ours, it's like a kind of imputed and the narrow visions here, and imputed. And it is like we use the like a way of the beings, and the other one is, how do you say, it's like way of the appearance, being, and way of the appearances. Okay, and like this, and then is generally it is the relative conventional things are there's two kinds of very, very important, pure relative aspect and impure relative aspect. And the pure relative aspect, it is like an ordinary perspective, and it's like they cannot to think about the as nature of the how do you say relative things. And can you translate? Madot Sunton Silma? Madot Sunton Silma. Nandot Tozik Silma. Logikas? Nam Tok Tozik Silma. And Madot Sunton Silma? Madot Sunton Silma. Namda Tazik Silma. Okay, these two. Can you say Namda Tazik Silma? Namda Tazik Silma. The logical, perceiving, conventional things as pure. Pure. Purity. And logically, conventional things perceive as impure. I think this one, these two are in the, I think is Liz, you already translated in the our Shedra book, second Shedra book, you have these two, okay? Third Shedra books. And this is the conventional and this kind of the very important. And also it's like a conventional in the more kind of the luminosity perspective, or it is the third teachings of the Buddha's perspective, and how you can to divide it, the two truths, and the accordance, like kind of coincide of the where of the being and where of appearances. Okay? Coincide, like kind of like a accordance, agreement. Yes? Coincide. Do you say like this? Coincide. And coincide. And coincide. Like a kind of the agreement. Yes? Coincide. And also maybe I would say agreement. Agreement of the way of being, way of appearances. It is the absolute truth. And not agreement, not coincide of way of being, way of appearances. It is the relative truth. And this is according the luminosity perspective, according the third teaching of the Buddhas. And also here is like the conventional things. Also, we can through that to establish. And then is the quoting the second teachings, how to divide the true truth. We used to say the emptiness is absolute truth, appearances is the relative truth. It's very easily to say that. And in the third teaching is like to say the coincide or agreement. It's like tenable or not tenables. And that is like, tenable of this truth, tenable of the way of being, way of appearance is absolute truth. Not attainable of the way of being, way of the appearances is the relative truth. And now it is like the logically, the appearance of the conventional as purity, it is the noble's appearances. That means it's a relative truth, conventional truth, but when you have the level of the first bhumi, maybe already like kind of the part of the junction, I'm not sure, but part of the seeings, and then you have the pure visions. Also in the here said it's like maybe yogis, or it is like a kind of the yogis direct to see the relative things as the purities. Why? Because they direct to concerning the true nature of the realities. And that moment is like everything is perceived, direct, the perceived, how do you say, is purity. And also, why I'm pointing out that is, okay? For example, it's a Buddha nature, it has true yes, and the one is like the Ranyak niri, like I said, I forgot. Ranyak niri, Jinjurik, how do you say? Naturally abiding is Ranyak, yes? Naturally abiding, and other one?
Disposition, naturally abiding disposition, developed disposition.
Okay, developed disposition. And someone is like only the believe the dispositions, it is difficult to accept the noble seeing, these conventional things perceived logically as the purities. Because it's like conventional things, you need to develop, and developed, then the consequence of maturation is become the Buddha nature, yes? It's like kind of changing is the process. This naturally, the disposition is Buddha nature itself, inherently, in the beginning, itself is the beginning, is each in the conventional things are, there is the Buddha natures. And eyes at the beginning, eyes inherently exist in the water, yes? And then is you look at the eyes, but you have immediately image of the water. And like you have this realization of the waters, you look at eyes, but water is there. And it's like logically, these conventional appearances perceived as impurity means it is like when you see the eyes, and it's like this is eyes, but it's not kind of the water, absolutely not water. Water not exist at the beginning, it's ice. One is the ice is melted, and then is the water is coming, like this is water. At the beginning you can't say water is their existence. And this for is like this true in the relatively perceiving things. It's like and it's like someone is the relative phenomena it is perceived as purities, and no agreements not coincided, and visions is like things are the impurities. This kind of true kind of perceivers perceive in the relative appearances. Then is the next one is this makes the two types of the conventional validity, okay? Purity, impurities. That is like kind of purity, impurities. And like the seeing which eyes and are the human and divine. And then it's like this is the deviation is like this. For example, human's eyes is difficult to see, same as the divineness to see like this. Divineness may be to see the many different things. For example, if you are through your meditations, you have the supernatural kind of the result. We call that you have divineness eyes, divineness kind of ears, divineness faculties. And that is kind of, you can to see that maybe it's like a 1,000 miles. And also it's like to have, to see that many is like far. Or maybe you can to say it's like the place and times. And also the according to the different, the aspect, there are three things are the kind of the different to seeing it. For example, someone can to see, can to see that one is the beginning, one is the start our universe. There is the golden cloud there is. Maybe they can to remember, they can to see that in the past. In the future, someone is like can to see this kind of months, years, Buddha material is coming to in our worlds, and you can to give like four cast or the four word to say prophecies, like how do you say prophecies, prophecies. And this kind of there is different. Of course, there's conventional as the true type of the validities. And both perspective at that moment is the validity. It is like the conventional validity. For example, maybe ordinary sentient beings is perceive conventional phenomena as the impurity. It is also validity. That perspective they perceive as the impurity. But it is like, of course, this is not correct. But in the nobles, like this is like a kind of divineness, and this is direct impurities. This is also validities. There's a difference between the two, like in their essential natures, cause, result, and functions. And then it's like through this we can to say establish this logically conventional we have three reasons. You remember? Three reasons is this nature of the uncontestable cause. And this is each individual like possess. And the functional cause and affect the dependency of affect. And this kind of function, you can to establish this true type of the conventional validities. And because it's like in the relative, we are the resume of the relative. In the beginning of the path until the 10th bhumis, everything is beyond the relative truth. And in that perspective, and of course, we have this like, I'm just to say the 12th link of the interdependence. 12th link of the interdependence of connect to the or relation to the samsara. 12th link of the interdependence related to the nirvana. And this is nirvana means it's like we can to say it's like when you apply the path, you be in the path of the seeings, and enter the 10th bhumis. This is the process, the path of the nirvanas. And also it's like samsaric is like weak general, this contaminated the 12th link of the interdependencies, and that is obvious. And this true are, there is the processes, and this true kind of the 12th link of the interdependence and cause, effect, and the natures, and we need to apply like this. Maybe in the we can do say it's like the contaminated 12 link of the 12 link of the interdependence, then the connect to the samsaras, it is a relative. And the opposite of that, the nirvana, is absolute truth. Absolute truth, how you can to divide it like absolute truth, can you say it's like cause and effect and this kind of thing. But absolute truth, like truly the truth of the absolute truth, it is after the 10th bhumi. And it's like a kind of the meditative equipoise of the bodhisattvas, or the meditative equipoise, it is the image of the enlightenment. And after the 10th bhumis, then there is the no logicals, no the classifications, nothing kind of this deviation, because it's conceptual mind completely dissolved into the non-conceptuals. Until there is, it is like kind of, we need to use this cause, effect, and the nature of on each individual properties. And it's like this is like what it says, there's the essence, nature, cause, result, function.